CNN. Ooh, CNN is facing layoffs. CNN is facing salary cuts for some of its top talent. Gee, I wonder who that could be. I have a clue. So this story just coming out, getting reported actually in the Washington Free Beacon, that CNN's overpaid talent would be bracing for deep cuts amid this corporate shakeup. You see, it is a corporate shakeup. They're having a restructuring. The State Department's not the only one having the restructuring. CNN's got a restructuring going on of their own. Warner Brothers, Discovery, this is the parent company of CNN. They have, made a decision that this whole TV thing, it's not really working, right? So they've got to come up with something else. They've got to come up with some kind of product that's going to work in the future, as opposed to the traditional cable model where you get paid a certain amount per subscriber. And that's where your revenue stream is based off of. But, you can't actually make money on the commercials by putting it live on something like YouTube, which is good for independent creators like yours truly, right? Because we're able to do things that they just aren't. I mean, many things that they just aren't, let's be honest. And so they're seeing these declines in their television assets. And so they decided they're going to start a new company, and they're going to kind of separate the old cable stuff and kind of create this new cable thing, and they're calling it Global Networks. And the idea here is that you're going to be able to grow a media company for the future while sort of weaning off that old cable style CNN thing. Well, it's good. It's good, right? For shareholders, that's a good thing. But if you are a high-priced anchor at CNN, I'm thinking Jake Tapper. I'm thinking Anderson Cooper. Wolf Blitzer. I don't know. Maybe it's time for you to actually take a pay cut, because the company can't earn that much anymore and doesn't have a growth trajectory. So this came out recently. There's a guy who's a media reporter at a place called Puck, and he's predicting it's going to get a whole lot worse for CNN employees, many of whom really haven't really understood how significant these layoffs are going to be. But it's going to be really significant. Budgets are going to be slashed. The offices will be SHI ittier, okay, according to them. And familiar perks will disappear. And there's also another media reporter, a guy who's formerly from CNN, who's got a newsletter now, and he said that as of next month, this is how you know it's really bad at CNN, employees are going to have to start submitting receipts when they submit their expense reports. Oh my gosh, you actually have to you need a receipt? I've never heard of somebody not turning in a receipt. Let me just tell you, I've worked at a bunch of networks. I didn't work at CNN, but you had to turn in your receipts. You can't just take a source to dinner and not have a receipt. I've never even heard of that. So, they're getting away with all kinds of stuff at CNN. Well, those days are ending. They're going to have to turn in their receipts, and the morale is really grim, according to one CNN employee who was talking to Fox. Yeah, they're kind of unhappy. But you know what? Their whole industry is getting shaken up in real time, and it is what it is, right? We're seeing the same thing over on The View. They're kind of unhappy over on The View. They're kind of unhappy over on CNN. And I suspect, as we look at some of these big salaries getting slashed, it's been reported that Anderson Cooper makes $15 million. I don't know if that's true or not, but if so, it's $15 million too much, right? Tell him to go out on his own. Could he ever earn that? Could he actually host a show, a podcast, and have enough personality to carry it through? I don't think so. I mean, it's like watching paint dry. Anyway, Jake Tapper, he's onto something. He's clued in. And so I think part of this sort of change that you've seen in Jake Tapper is all about his marketability, because maybe he's hoping he might be able to get a job at Fox one day. Of course, he wasn't thinking about this before the election. No. Back when he was carrying Biden's water the entire time and going on and on after Lara Trump because she dared to say maybe Biden was slowing down. I mean, when you dare to say the obvious, right? Here he is.
Every time he comes on stage or they turn to him, I'm like, Joe, can you get it out? Let's get the words out, Joe. You kind of feel bad for him.
How do you think it makes little kids with stutters feel when they see you make a comment like that?
First and foremost, I had no idea that Joe Biden ever suffered from a stutter. I think what we see on stage with Joe Biden, Jake, is very clearly a cognitive decline.
Okay.
That's what I'm referring to. It makes me uncomfortable
You have
to watch
no
somebody on stage search for
that's so amazing.
questions
It's so amazing to me
and,
that
and try and figure out an answer.
a cognitive decline.
Well, when you're trying to tell me that what I was suggesting was
I think that you
stuttering,
were mocking his stutter.
Idea, Joe Biden.
Yeah, I think you were mocking his stutter, and I think you have absolutely no standing to diagnose somebody's cognitive decline. I would think that somebody in the Trump family would be more sensitive to people who do not have medical licenses diagnosing politicians from afar. Plenty of people have diagnosed your father from afar, and I'm sure it offends you. Your father-in-law from afar. I'm sure it offends you. You don't have any standing to say.
I'm not diagnosing him. What I'm saying, Jake,
you just talked
is
about
that
a cognitive
we can
decline.
See that Joe Biden is
I have one last
struggling
question for you, Laura. You can't
times on stage, and it's very concerning to a lot of people that this could be the leader of the free world.
Okay.
That is all I'm saying. I genuinely feel
Laura
sorry
Trump.
for Joe Biden.
I appreciate it. I'm sure.
Yeah, so that was Jake back in the day, before he decided to go all in. We got to get rid of Biden. We got to get Kamala Harris in there. And he just knew it, right? Because maybe his friend George Clooney told him, or maybe because, well, he was trying to save the party. And then when he realized, oh gosh, darn it, all that USAID money that CNN maybe was getting, I don't know. It's a global network, right? Maybe they were getting some of the USAID money, kind of like Reuters, kind of like the New York Times, kind of like Politico. Whatever went down, CNN is now up a creek without a paddle and doesn't have the financing it used to have. So suddenly Jake's out with a spiffy new book where he's doing the rounds on conservative media. Again, now he's the hero? Come on. This is all about him, I suspect, trying to get a job at Fox.
I went on a left-leaning podcast that shall remain nameless, and we were talking about my kids, because I think they were both people without kids. And they asked me about my son, and I said he was,
Do you hear that little dig? Because again, he's trying to appeal to conservatives, so he's dinging the liberals who don't have the kids. Kind of irrelevant to his story, but nonetheless, here we go.
A football player, and he wants to be a policeman. And their joke was about my 15-year-old son, oh, how does he feel about minorities? Like the idea that he wants to be a policeman, therefore he's racist, my son. And that was the big laugh. And then I got dragged in the comments and all that stuff. And I thought to myself, this is why you fuckers are losing elections.
Oops. 100%. Can't say that on CNN. But Jake is suddenly coming to some realization that maybe his party is not the nicest party in the world. Maybe they kind of carry a grudge. Maybe the Democrats took things too far with their whole cancel culture. Or maybe Jake is just a completely financial animal that one decided to come out with a book when he was actually a big part of the problem, exposing the media that he led and actually, participated in and was part of the problem in, and now is trying to get a job at some place that might actually have a dime to pay him. Fox, don't do it. Okay? Don't do it. Don't do it. Let him go do a podcast. See how that goes. You're going to have to decide who you are, Jake. You're either a lib or you're conservative, but this whole, trying to have it both ways, I don't think it's going to fly.